Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, I would like to thank to the organizer, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, College of Business Administration, Graduate Studies, Manila. I'm also thankful to Dean, all the faculty members of Polytechnic University. A special thanks to my dear friend and sir, Mac Narte, who have invited me as a guest speaker in this platform. So it is an honor to be as a guest speaker talking on uh, fundamental guide, writing a qualitative research. So I am truly and honestly thrilled to be the part of this program. So as a qualitative researcher, so I will share some of my reflections and experiences of qualitative research. So everyone, thank you so much. Okay, let me share my slides. Okay, is it visible? Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So let me go to my issue. I'll be talking on some of the how to write qualitative research. So my name is Durgaraj Bhusal. As a MPhil research scholar, I am doing my dissertation in Kathmandu University, Nepal. So without much delay, so I don't take too much time. So I'll be first of all talk about some of the concepts of research as well as qualitative research. So then I'll go to research paradigm. Then later I will talk about some of the difference between quantitative and qualitative research. Then how to set problem statement in our research. Then how to set research purpose and questions. Then how to set research literature in our research. Then I will talk about some of the qualitative research. And at last, I will talk about the data analysis and theme generation process. Okay, let me begin first of all with my topic. What is research? First of all, why we carry out research? What is research? First of all, before carrying out any kind of study, any kind of research, first of all, we should be clear on what is research. So it is an inquiry or examination. So especially it is also known as the critical investigation. So we have to apply our critical thinking skills while carrying out any kind of research. So actually it is a systematic, control, empirical and critical investigation of hypothetical propositions about the prism relations among natural phenomena. Means our context will be natural, so it is a systematic, it has some systems, it is also control, it has some control limitations. We need to also do some empirical reviews as well while doing research. It is also one of the critical investigations. So we see some issues in our context or other context. At that time we need to apply our means we need to do critical investigations. Okay, actually, what is research? Research means what is research? First of all, it means to go about seeking. We need to seek something in our context, means something in the context. What is research? What we are going to search about. And while carrying out any kind of research, we have to be very much careful as well as systematically we need to follow some of the format of carrying out research. We are going to search for the knowledge in our research area. Another, we need to also investigate some of the process like to increase or revise current knowledge. For example, if we take any kind of issues, the issues might not be stable. The context, the any kind of findings, whatever else it is, ever going means it is a changing process. So that's why the current knowledge cannot be applicable in our situation. Like for example, the research carried out in Philippines context might not be applicable in our Nepalese context. That's why we need to do other further research on this issue. So that's why the context is different and research is an ongoing process. It is a process, not product. Research is a process. That's why our main concern are means here I will focus on the social or educational research. Okay, another, where do we conduct research? In which areas we are going to conduct research? First of all, we need to very much conscious as well as clear about why, where, and when, and who are our participants, who are our concerned people. So these things should be kept in our mind before carrying out any kind of research. Then these researches focus on societies. Some societies, some context is there, like either human context or social settings will be there. As a teacher, educator, we need to focus on we need to go in the some some sorts of social context where we need to go as a researcher there. So here educational researchers focus on educational context or educational issues. So here we especially focus on the educational issues in our area. So then what is educational social research? Why we need to go in a society to conduct research? So it is a systematic process, like we collect and analyze information on certain problems. We don't means we cannot take many issues in one research. We need to specify our issues in order to derive some conclusions, some findings there. So it is the rigorous process. So simply we cannot do research. Actually, qualitative researchers, it takes long time. It is a rigorous process of arriving it is arriving at dependable answers to questions or solutions. We need to seek some solutions of those issues, those questions. There are some problems like we need to, through the systematic collection of analysis, systematically we follow some rules while we are in the field, while analyzing data, while interpreting data, and while presenting of relevant data. So all the data may not be relevant in our context, in our area. That's why we need to analyze, interpret, as well as present only relevant data. So that's why the process of collecting data is very much important. In which areas we are going to collect data, that is the main part of collecting, means main part of the researcher. Okay, then what is paradigm? Actually, I prefer to say paradigm is a big picture. So paradigm leads us or guides us to do many things there. It is a big term. It is a broad framework, like perceptions. What is our perceptions? What is our understanding? What is our belief systems? And within which theory and practices operate? Like in which theory we apply? What are our beliefs? What is our understandings in any kind of issues? It is a standard. It is a perspective or set of ideas. We can see picture here as well. So it is a way of looking at something. So a basis of comprehension for interpreting social reality. So we have some big picture and having some kind of beliefs, understanding, some perceptions, we go in the reality. So here, researchers from different disciplines may have different paradigms. Actually, uh, quantitative researchers, they follow positivist and post-positivist paradigm. And here I will be talking about the interpretive paradigm. So under interpret paradigm, so I will be focusing on the qualitative research. So here is some relationship between the building blocks of research. How can we interrelate to different research? So here in research, we need to be very much care about ontology. What is our reality? What is our real context? And epistemology. What and how can we know about it? There are different means. There are multiple realities in that context. So at that time, how and what can we miss? What and how can we know about it? How can we know on this context? Another methodology. How can we go about acquiring knowledge? How can we get knowledge from this context? And methods. What procedures? What procedures we follow while acquiring our target, our data? So there another source, which data can be collected. What sorts of data we need to collect while we are in the field? So this is also very much important part. Excuse me, host, please, if you remove me from co-host, your notifications are disturbing me. Okay, so another, let me go to the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. First of all, then later, more specifically, I'll go to qualitative research. So what is quantitative research? What is qualitative research? Actually, we, as a qualitative researcher, we try to understand the research problems. The quantitative, on the other hand, the quantitative researchers, they test the causal relationship of variables. They test different variables. we focus on feelings and experiences, opinions, behaviors of individuals, how and why it happens, why it happened. We focus on those kind of feelings, experiences. And similarly, quantitative researchers, they focus on the measure. They measure there. They count different variables there. So it is an emergent design. It is a means qualitative research is not highly structured. Quantitative research is the highly structured. In qualitative research, we may have few participants, but in quantitative researchers, we have larger number of participants. So here in qualitative research, there is a close relation between participants. We have a very much as a member of the society. Like for example, if we are in those contexts at that time, we need to be as a member of that society. So we need to maintain close relationship between with our participants. In quantitative, not so close and sometimes detached. We only generally we collect, we set some structures, and we take data in quantitative research. So in qualitative research, especially the data are gathered through open interviews, observations, field notes, and other diaries, journals. But in quantitative, data are gathered through questionnaires. We set questionnaires checklist in quantitative research. So here in qualitative research, we usually ask open-ended questions, whereas in quantitative research, we ask close-ended questions. Here in qualitative research, data where narratives, some text, pictures, or objects are there. So here in quantitative, data are in the form of numbers. The numberings are there. Here, narrative construction and meaning making process is very much important part in qualitative research. So after going in the field, after collecting data, we need to we need to write some narratives, and we need to also uh, create meaning from our data. Here, statistical analysis and results are done in quantitative research. Here, in qualitative research, we use personalized or first-person language we use here. Here in quantitative, we use third-person language. So here, what is qualitative research? Why we prefer qualitative research? Actually, it is a collecting. Here we collect, then analyze and interpret. There are different processes in collecting data in qualitative research. First of all, what we do? We collect, then we analyze and we interpret by observing what people do and say, what exactly they perform there, what exactly the people they do, and they means what beliefs they have there. So it also refers to the meanings, concepts. That's why it is an abstract. Qualitative research known as the abstract. It refers to the meanings, some concepts, definitions like characteristics, some metaphors will be there, some symbols and description of thing. These are our data. When we are in the field, we may get various kinds of data, like we may find some concepts, some definitions, some people's characteristics, some metaphors, some symbols, many things we can find in qualitative research. It is a subjective, it is not objective, and uses very different methods of collecting information. We can use different methods, like we include like individual, we can use in-depth interviews, we can also use focus group discussion in qualitative research. Here the nature of this research is exploratory and open-ended. It is exploratory in nature, as well as we usually apply open-ended questions while we are in the qualitative research. So here the range of data collection analysis techniques uses purposive sampling. Here we use purposively, we select our participants, and we also set some semi-structured pattern interview as well as open-ended interviews. So this is the main part in qualitative research. We can say it as a multi-method in focus, where we can use different methods. We can use like interpretive and naturalistic approach. So different methods we can use in qualitative research. It occurs in a natural setting. So it is a not presupposed setting. It is a natural settings, and it enables, as a researcher, it enables us to develop a level of detail from high involvement in the actual experiences. So we need to involve directly in the field as a member of that society. That's why we need to spend long time in the field. Another, it aims to provide a detailed understanding into human behavior, emotion, and their attitudes and experience of our participants. That's why it is a very much, it is known as the rigorous study. So what is qualitative research methodology? So as a qualitative researchers, what we need to do, what things we need to consider, we need to concern with meaning, like why the people means interested in how people make sense of their world, how they perceive in their own world. We should not impose anything in the field. Rather, we need to understand as well as interpret how the people they are interpreting, they are taking their own role, and how they experience events. Like, for example, what is it like to experience particular conditions, what it means to be unregulated. Many examples can be there. So it means how they interpret in their own context. We should not impose our power or our presuppositions, pre-assumptions in the field. And how people manage certain situations, we can see, we can observe there. By directly engaging in those fields, we need to see how people manage their situations, how they are living there, how they are performing there, how people negotiate like family life or relations with work colleagues. So we can, means the context will be either educational context or social context. At that time, we can see different context there. It also concerned with the quality and texture of the experience, not with cause and effect relationship. Actually, cause and effect relationship we can apply in quantitative research. So it attributes, means we call it research will be attribute meanings to events or phenomena. We need to very much attributive to create meanings from events or from phenomena. So another, there are different characteristics of qualitative research. Here I have taken some features of qualitative research. It is known as the interpretive inquiry. So here researchers make an interpretation of the what they see, hear, and understand. For example, suppose I am a researcher. When I am in the field, at that time I make some interpretations to how my participants they see their own world, how they hear to me, how they perform there, how they understand to their own context. So it is a holistic account. Here we try to develop an understandable picture of the problem or issue under study. And here we try to identify the complex interactions of factors in any situation. There might be different kind of factors in our context. At that time, we try to identify as well as problematize in our research study. So here we usually focus on the participants' meanings rather our assumptions. Here we, as a researchers, we keep a focus on learning the meaning that the participants hold about the problem or issues, how they take those meanings from their own context. Participant meanings will be important here. Here emergent design, the initial plan for research cannot be tightly prescribed. If we plan something where, if we plan on our issues, when we are in the field, that plan may not be work there. That's why it is an emergent design. And all the phases of the process may change or shift after research begins. So whatever whatever assumptions we have set in our mind, then when we are in the field, that may not work there. So here we need to also see from the theoretical perspectives, lens which is used to view studies such as concepts of culture, social, political, or historical context. So that's why only collecting data is not important. We need to also go through some of the theories, how these theories help us to collect data in our research area. So here in the context is natural in qualitative research, where we collect data in the field at the site where participants experience the issue or problem under study. We see, we collect the participants' experiences. And here researcher is a key instruments. We as a primary data collection tool, we collect data ourselves. We do not rely on questionnaires or instruments developed by other researchers. We develop ourselves as a instrument. So we can apply different multiple sources of data like interviews, observations, document analysis, diaries, journals, field notes, many things we can use there when we need to collect data in the field. So here inductive data analysis we apply here, like there are some patterns. Method wise, there are different patterns. We need to also categorize our data, and themes are built from the bottom up to top. So that's why this is very much important. So how can we design a qualitative research? So as a qualitative researcher, we employ rigorous data collection procedures. Yes, we collect multiple forms of data. Only single forms of data might not be sufficient there. So we collect multiple forms of data because the reality is multiple there. So that's why we get multiple forms of data in our field. So adequately summarize data, then we need to summarize those data. And we need to spend a lot of time in the field. So that's why before I said it is a rigorous study. So here we frame the study within the assumptions and characteristics of the quality approach to research, which include evolving design, like presenting of the multiple realities we need to present. We as an instrument of data collection, we need to focus on participant views rather than our views. So our participant is means the participants are our God. So here we need to also describe and possibly explain events and experiences, but never to predict. We should not predict when we are in the field. So we need to go without predicting anything in the field, having blank mind. So that's how we need to describe and possibly explain events and experiences after collecting data. We need to study people in their own territory within naturally occurring settings like classrooms or any kind of social settings, and interested in process of ongoing change. So it also explores lived experience and participant defined meanings. It explores. So here are some basic types of information, like we can get informations from interviews, observations, documents, audiovisual materials. So any other devices we can use there to get informations from the participants when we are in the field. So therefore, the backbone of qualitative research is extensive collection of data from multiple sources. So after organizing, we need to analyze, and we need to try to make sense of the data. If we are not able to try to make the sense of data, that might not be valid, that might not be reliable after going many times in the field. So here, typically, what we do as a quality researcher, what I believe is, first of all, we need to start with an issue or problem. So before carrying out any kind of research, first of all, we need to find out ourselves what is our issue, what is our problems. Then we need to also, our problems might not be valid. Then we need to examine those issues with the certain literatures. Then we need to pose questions. Either that question works or not. Then we need to gather data. Then we need to analyze those gathered data. Then at last we write a reports. Okay, here first of all, how to set problem in research. So this is the I actually I faced the most problems, means most difficult while I used to set problem in my research area. So that's why it is like when things do not, sometimes when things do not go as per our normal assumption and controversies, we face problems. Yes, in any kind of context we may face some problems. Sometimes when we think about why so, how to, or what about, it is we face problems. So there are many options, means there are many ways, many contexts where we face some problems. Like examples, why students score less in mathematics or other science or other subjects, how can their achievement level be enhanced, how can we enhance. These are some issues in for example, like as a teacher in our schools, sometimes these questions arouse in our mind. Why our students score less in mathematics and science? How can their achievement level be enhanced? Why do teachers punish students? Why we punish our students? How are the empowering or disempowering force of teachers dissatisfaction? So there are many problems in our schools as well. So how do we state our problem? So there may be several sources of generating research problem, like the preliminary sources may be information via media, or discussing with the stakeholders or other researchers from our self experiences. Especially, uh, uh, we find out some research problems from our observation as well as self experiences, either from the reviewing the literature as well. So sometimes we review different literature, we read different articles, writings. At the time also, we find some gaps there. That gaps is our problems. But we should define and delimit the problems. So we need to delimit our issue, and we should also justify the problem.
Okay.
Good day. Good day, Professor Durga. Okay. I think we are having some technical problems with Professor Durga.
Okay, please. Actually, sorry, I was disconnected due to some
We
technological
can hear you
devices.
now. We can.
Yeah, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Actually, please, sir, enable me to share screen.
Yes, sir. Please.
I think host needs to disable me on. Host has disabled me to share my screen. Please enable me.
Okay. Sir McMac, kindly
Okay,
allow.
now got. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All
Okay,
right.
then
So that's clear.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, then another the problem statement is a big stage for our entire study, which provides rational answer for why the study is important. So after setting problem, we need to set rational why our study is important and why readers need to read our study. So that sort of reasons need to be given when we write any kind of research. Okay, the problem is out of research process. We can we say means the problem is a heart of research process. The very basic foundation of research work. It is also very basic foundation of research work. So without research problem, no research. Without any kind of issues, how can we claim out we are going to carry out any kind of research? That's why the problem statement is a very much important part in our research. So it begins by identifying a problem that needs to be addressed. So our research, when we are going to carry out any kind of research, so it begins after identifying a problem or any kind of issue that needs to address in our study. It may be in a single sentence or several sentences. So research title, topic itself a broader problem. Yeah. So that's why we elaborate our research problem, adding other closely related dimensions of our research. So our problem might not be sufficient, might not be valid. So to make it reliable, to make it valid, we need to connect some of the research, some of the literatures. Then we need to have a review of literature to support our problems, to authenticate our problem actually. So without authentication of our problems, the research might not be research. That's why we need to review some literatures which plays important role for popularizing our research. Okay, then what is literature review? How do we review some literatures? So it is known as the integral part of research process. So it is very much important. So where we can get information related to our topic of interest, in which topic we are going to carry out research. So to be familiarized on others, work on the chosen issue. So we need to connect, we need to support, we need to argue, or we need to debate as well. So any things we can do from other literatures. So our study to the larger ongoing dialogue in the literature about a topic. So it is a, and we can also add some dialogues, what others say related to our research. Like here, the literature might be empirical or different theories, ideas, some philosophical perspectives, some policies, some historical documents. So different kind of research literatures will be there. Then we need to connect uh, for the need of our research. So here the literature will synthesize and gain a new perspectives. It is a process of synthesizing and gaining a new perspectives. We need to identify some relationship between ideas and practices, or explore the gap between our experience and the theoretical ideas. What is the gap? What is the space? We need to create our niche. So what is our experiences and what are the theoretical instance of our research? We need to create our space there. Then we need to explore the contradictions of ideas and perspectives. The ideas might not be similar to ours. So sometimes we only search what are the similar findings, similar ideas to our research. That is not true. We need to explore some contradictions, some debates, some arguments, what others scholars they say, what other scholars they show their perspective ideas. So we need to uh, connect here. We need to also identify the area in which we'll be contributing, building new theories knowledge. That's why it is very much integral part in the research. Not just a summary, but a critical assessments. So only summarizing it not sufficient. We need to also critically examine those writings, those scholarly writings. So it needs some kind of critical analysis and synthesis. So not only retelling others' views. Here I have set here 5 C's, like we need to cite of their writings, we need to compare, we need to contrast, we need to critique, and we need to connect to our issue. Then at last, it will be our own research. It means only reviewing those literatures is not sufficient. And after reviewing those literatures, we need to with our issues, and we need to also uh, be able to give our opinion in our research. Then only it will be our good research. So after reviewing literature, we need to specify some purpose of our research. How do we set our purpose? It is known as the restatement of a problem is the purpose of a statement. A restatement of problem is known as the research purpose. It conveys the overall objective or intent of our research. It guides whole our research. It contains the major focus of the study. The major focus of the study based on the research purpose. It is narrowed to research questions or hypotheses. Then how to set good research questions must be compatible with our research purpose. It is clear, concise, and reasonable. Researchable, not reasonable, sorry. It should be researchable. It should be connected with some literatures. It should be derived from within the problematic issues. Some issues might be connected, should be connected here. It also needs to contribute to the knowledge building. So that's why research purpose and questions are very much important. Overall, title is a broad subject matter to be addressed by the research. Then our issue, our problem narrows the title, making more clearer. Your purpose is the major intent of the study is to address the problem. And research question hypothesis narrow the purpose into specific questions. It narrows down that researcher would like to address. So this is the nutshell. This is the main gist. You can see here also. First of all, you can see here, like topic is a distance learning, research problem, lack of students in distance education classes. The purpose is to study why students do not attend distance education classes at the community college. Research question, does the use of website technology in the classroom? This is the way of formulating title, research problem, purpose, and research questions. And research is an adventure. So I prefer to say it is as an adventure. We take the research process as a form of adventure, not as a form of research. It is not a product. It is a process. It is an ongoing process. So research methods as ways of approaching questions. We can apply different research methods in qualitative research as well. So that's why it is a ways of justifying an answer. I like epistemology. So there are different kind of qualitative researchers, basic interpretive qualitative researchers like phenomenological study, grounded theory, case study, action research, ethnographic study, narrative inquiry, critical qualitative research, postmodern research, content analysis, historical research. So there are different kind of qualitative research. So basically, we in our Nepalese context, we usually use narrative inquiry, ethnography, grounded theory, phenomenology, interpretive research. So these are the main practices of research in our Nepalese context. So what is narrative inquiry? It is a like it has a distinct communication features like set of characters developing over the course of the narrative. A plot or sequence of events are there in narrative inquiry. So here we actually we collect data from the narrators or the participants' point of view. Here we actually observe how humans, how our participants make meaning of their experience. Are we here by endlessly telling and retelling stories about themselves? We collect different stories, different life events of our participants. Here we use the phenomenon of temporality, sociality, and spatiality to allow a deeper understanding of their experiences, past, present, and future perspectives we collect from the participants, which provides a rich framework to investigate the ways how humans experience, how participants they experience their world described through their stories. So collecting data from the participants' stories. So another phenomenological research, it explores people's everyday life experiences, which is called life experiences as well. So it is also used when the study is about the life experience of a concept or phenomenon experienced by one or more individuals. At that time, we usually usually apply phenomenological research. So here we investigate subjective phenomena. Here, as a phenomenological researcher, we describe the lived experience of participants about a phenomenon which is described by participants. It also attempts to understand how participants make sense of their experiences, how they make sense of their own experiences, own lived experiences. Yeah. So that's why a phenomenologist considers the meaning of experience and describe the life world of their own context. So, grounded theory. Here, as a researcher, we need to attempt to derive a general abstract theory of a process or actions or interaction grounded in the views of participants. We use both an inductive and deductive approach to the theory development and interactions among lives of people, which deals with only inductive approach rather than deductive approach of inquiry. Here, as a researcher, we do not test hypotheses, but build the theory from the unprocessed information or from the extension of the existent theory. Here is a theory building is a very much important part from the data. So another action research, which is usually useful in our classroom research. So it seeks action to improve practice and study the effects of the action that was taken in our classroom everyday teaching learning activities. We apply these sorts of research. It is also systematic investigation, which is performed by the teachers and other educational personnel to collect and study data, which can help them to realize as well as develop their practices. So we can also improve our own practices after doing action research. This is very much useful in our classroom practices. It is also based on the view that teachers and other educational professionals used to improve quality of teaching. So to improve our quality of teaching learning activities, we apply this research. It also plays an important role in education sectors, which is used in real situations, real context, rather than in contrived experimental studies, since its primary focus is on solving real problems in the everyday activities, especially in our educational context. So another case study, the case study is a general term for exploration of an individual or group of people, which explores in depth a program or an event or an activity, a process, or one or more individuals will be there in our case study area. Here the structure of a case study should be the problem, the context, the issues, and the lessons learned. So it is a comprehensive description of an individual case or its analysis. So the case might be single or more. So it is considered as a quantitative or qualitative. So this can be both quantitative or qualitative research, depending upon the purpose of the study, purpose of our study, and the design which are chosen by us. So that's why it is conducted by using multiple sources of data like questionnaires, interviews, observations, written doc accounts, and audiovisual materials. So another ethnography, it represents an approach in which the researcher engages in prolonged observations from the group's everyday life, where we observe the participants' behaviors, their values, their interactions among the members of the group, which are deeply studied, described, and interpreted by the researcher. So it is a study of the beliefs as well as social interactions and behaviors of a small societies, small contexts, where we need to involve as well as participate as well as observe over a long period of time. So it is also known as the art and science, which used to describe a group or culture. So that's why, as an ethnographic researcher, we need to search for predictable patterns in the lived human experiences by carefully observing and participating in the lives of those under study. That's why this is very much important. It needs prolonged engagement in the field. It takes long time. It is a time-consuming research. So, we are in the data collection, data analysis part. So first of all, what is qualitative data analysis? So here, usually in qualitative data analysis part, we work with the text. Then we compare and contrast ideas, the beliefs, understandings with data and perspectives from the participants. We generate meaning from the data. We also generate some abstract ideas from the text data. The text data which we get from the field are abstract. It is also providing description of the phenomena. We need to describe the phenomena. Then we need to also identify some major ideas. Then we need to construct narratives. So naming the themes or categories. How do we name or how do we categorize our data? So the names can come from the at least three sources, such as the researcher, from ourselves, from our participant, as well as from the literature. So usually what we do, we usually take data from our as well as our participants' point of view. This is not, that would not be valid there. So to make it authenticate, we need to connect those literatures in our research. How other scholarly writings, they say. The most common, when the researcher comes up with terms, concepts, and categories that reflects what he or she sees in the data. So that's why themes should reflect the purpose of the research. and it should be sensitive to what it is in the data representation. So that's why this is very much important part in data analysis part. So here, how do we generate themes from the coding? After analysis, we code our data, like we construct meaning from the data. The meaning support to generate themes. That meaning supports to the in the process of generating themes. Then we reduce this list to codes to get few themes or descriptions. And after, we set some codes to generate themes here. Actually, here themes are similar codes aggregated together to form a major idea in the database. So after coding, we usually generate themes here. So here we identify few themes by constantly comparing the data, which means constant comparative analysis. So that's why we identify some few themes by constantly comparing the data. Directly, we cannot take the themes. The major data might be missing there. That's why while analyzing as well as transcribing data, we need to be very much sensitive. So then we need to cluster as well as categorize data. After coding an entire text, cluster together similar codes and look for a redundant codes. Some data might not be, some data might be similar, some might not be useful. That's why we need to cluster there. Then we need to, objective means we need to reduce the long list of codes to a smaller. Then we need to minimize our code, more manageable number, which will be help to generate the themes. Then we need to read the data under each cluster time and again. Many times we need to go through our data. You can see some sample here. The process of reconstructing curriculum, like you can see here in the paragraph, you can see like close need community. So these are codes. The measured data is here. We usually code like this way. Then at the you can see right side, and there is a theme generation process. How do we theme? From these codes, we generate themes here. Okay, then coding data. Here, coding means the naming the ideas, the measure ideas we need to name here. That is known as the coding data. Then we need to assign a code word or phrase. We use usually word or phrase that accurately describes the meaning of the text segment. That text segment should be clearly described and it is also line by line coding is done first. First of all, we need to code line by line. Then more general coding is done involving larger segments of the text. That's why the coding is very much important. So the long course is not good. We need to phrase, we need to keep, or we need to write some phrases or some words there while coding our data. Then we need to describe under themes. What we need to describe under themes? Get description from the course already done in the transcriptions. While we are transcribing, while we are in the transcribing process, we had already done in the means we get some description from the text, and our field experiences may also be presented. Whatever experiences we have gained from our field, we can take there, and our reflections and meaning also come together. We need to also provide detailed information about a few themes, and we need to also think about presenting time, context, and social structures and interactions. What sort of things we have done in the field? We need to be very much careful while presenting data, and we need to detail and resolution of the for elimination. That's why it is very much important part. So another making data comparison with the literature. So after collecting data, so only collecting, thematizing, coding is not important. So we need to again compromise with the literature. How other scholarly writings say, how they claim there, how do they find there. So we interpret that data from particular viewpoint, see whether there are contradictions or confirmations of theoretical perspectives or not. We need to also compare and contrast the ideas generated from the analysis with ideas of literature. We use theories as lens of reference, which helps to make our data more authenticate. So this we say theoretical generalization. Then we need to synthesize or conclude. How do we synthesize? So it is the way how we present the final reflections or insights of the data analysis or interpretation of the data. How do we finalize? How do we present? How do we reflect? So it is the process of theorizing, theory building process. It is known as the theory building process. So after collecting data, at least as a good researcher, our findings should be able to develop a theory. So though it is a difficult task and need very thoughtful writing, so at least we need to try. Thus, there are multiple interpretations in qualitative research. There is not any single entities in qualitative research. So that's why we need to There are multiple dimensions, so there are multiple realities. That's why we need to observe from the multiple perspectives. So while collecting data, we need to follow some quality standards like credibility, dependability, transferability, conformability. So many things we need to be while presenting data or while we are in the field, we need to maintain some quality standards to maintain trustworthiness in our research. This is very much important part is a qualitative researcher. That's why we need to be very much conscious about diseases. Then another, we need to also uh, be very much conscious about some ethical issues like informed consent. We need to inform to our participants. There should not be any kind of no deceptions. The participant, they can directly withdraw. They have rights. We need to give them rights. And debriefing, instead the participants are informed about the research and we need to tell everything about our research purpose, our process, and many things. Then we need to also maintain some confidentiality in our research. Okay, thank you.